Hello everyone, my name is Braden, this is Airless Quill 9, and in today's video we're going to take a look at the Cleric. This will be the last video in our deep dive series, so let's get a look at it. So as we can see here, here's the design for the 2024 Cleric. Some pretty cool art here with some ghouls, some vectors, bunch of other undead surrounding this cleric who's fighting them off. Pretty interesting looking art there by Michael Broussard. I like that a lot. And then over here, on our right side, we have the old version of the cleric. So we're gonna compare them a little bit. As you can see here, here's the art for the old cleric. Both of these look like a dwarf. All right, get into core cleric traits. So, of course, wisdom is our primary ability for clerics. Our hit point die is a d8 per cleric level. Our saving throw proficiencies are wisdom and charisma. For skill proficiencies, we choose two from history, insight, medicine, persuasion, or religion. Weapon proficiencies, we gain simple weapons. Armor training, we gain light and medium armor and shields. And finally, for equipment, we choose either A or B as our starting equipment. A is going to give us a chain shirt, a shield, a mace, a holy symbol, a priest pack, and 7 gold pieces. And B will give us 110 gold pieces, which we can spend as we wish on equipment. So right off here, there is some slight differences to this table. All spellcasting classes now have this prepared spells column. This determines how many spells they can have prepared in from their spell list for a certain period of time whenever they can retrain spells. As you can see here, it goes up to 22. In addition, we also gain this channel divinity column here, which tells us how many uses of channel divinity we have per long rest. As you can see, it starts as 2 and goes all the way up to 4 uses, which is slightly more than we used to have in the old version. Spellcasting, there aren't too many changes other than the fact that we can now retrain cleric cantrips that we gain whenever we gain a level, which wasn't something that was in the base book, surprisingly. As normal, you can swap out your spell list whenever you finish a long rest, and you regain all your spell slots when you finish a long rest, so that's not changing anywhere there. And as I said, Wisdom is our spellcasting ability for clerics, and we can use the Holy Symbol as a spellcasting focus if we so wish. So, starting off, we go right into new stuff here. At level 1, we gain Divine Order. This lets us choose one of the following sacred role options, which we will retain throughout our entire role as a cleric. So the options that we have available to us are Protector, which gives us proficiency with martial weapons and training with heavy armor, or Thaumaturge, which gives us one extra cantrip from the cleric spell list and lets us add our wisdom modifier to intelligence, arcana, and religion checks, which is pretty cool. This is a feature that has somewhat replaced what, or has entirely replaced what subclasses used to do, which was provide you with either uh, an extra cantrip option or proficiency in either in martial weapons and possibly heavy armor. So this replaces that feature now, so that you can choose whether or not you want to be a more martial cleric or a more spellcasting focused cleric. Pretty great. I like that. At level 2, we get our Channel Divinity. This has seen slight changes here. The main one of the changes here now is that we regain 1 expended use when we finish a short rest. And of course, we regain all expended uses when we finish a long rest. We do get more uses than we used to back in the day. And we do get some new Channel Divinity options because of this as well. So this new option is called Divine Spark, which lets us use an action to point our holy symbol at a creature that we can see within 30 feet of ourselves. We roll a d8 and add our wisdom modifier. And we can either restore hit points to that creature or force it to make a constitution save. On a failed save, the creature takes necrotic or radiant damage, our choice. And on a successful save, they take half as much of that damage. And whenever we reach Cleric level 7, 13, and 18, we get to add an additional d8, the amount of healing or damage that we do with that feature. So it's nice that it scales. In addition, we get Turn Undead. This was present in the old, in the 2014 version, but it has seen some slight changes here. So as a magic action, you present your holy symbol and censor undead creatures. Each undead of your choice within 30 feet of you must make a wisdom saving throw. If the creature fails its save, it has the frightened and incapacitated conditions for 1 minute. For that duration, it tries to move as far from you as it can on its turns. This effect ends early on the creature if it takes any damage, if you have the incapacitated condition, or if you die. This is quite different from the old version. The old version used to just turn undead creatures, which made them have to run away from you, and they were essentially frightened of you. What this new version has done is it has made them frightened of you, and it's also given them the incapacitated condition so that they are not able to use any actions, bonus actions, or reactions to target you or aid themselves from leaving your or from moving as far away from you as possible. So it is actually a quite a bit of a buff because it also prevents them from freeing themselves from this condition as well. All right. So at 3rd level, we now get our cleric subclasses. These were originally at 1st level and they have been moved to 3rd level. This may not make much narrative sense, but I think this was done to provide some. Well, it was to provide a baseline for all classes because all classes now gain their subclasses at level 3. So this is across the board for all classes. And I also think this was done to make multi-classing more of a it made multi-classing more of a dip than it normally would have been. So I actually think this is kind of an improvement, even though it might not make much narrative sense. Just keep in mind when you're playing a cleric, you are already technically associated with a particular god. It's just at 3rd level, you are now gaining specific features based on the deity that you're following. And we will talk about subclasses after we do the base class. At levels 4, 8, 12, and 16, we gain an ability score improvement feat or another feat of our choice for which we qualify. At 5th level, we gain Seer Undead. This has replaced Destroy Undead. What Seer Undead does is whenever you use your Turn Undead Channel Divinity, you can roll a number of d8s equal to your Wisdom modifier with a minimum of 1d8 if for some reason you had a really low Wisdom modifier. You add the rolls together, and then each undead that fails its saving throw against that use of Turn Undead takes radiant damage equal to the roll's total. This damage also doesn't end the turn undead effect, which is pretty great. So yeah, turn or seer undead is actually pretty great. It is not as potent as destroy undead because destroy undead just completely annihilated undead of certain CRs. However, seer undead is a slight improvement just because it targets all undead creatures that are affected by your turn undead feature and not just ones of a certain CR. So this is actually an improvement. And it will still destroy undead that are of lower CRs potentially, since that radiant damage could be quite destructive to them. At level 7, we gain a new feature called Blessed Strikes. Now, subclasses used to gain at, I believe, 8th level, they used to gain either a feature called Divine Strike or Potent Spellcasting. This new feature at 7th level has seemingly replaced those features. So if you're playing an old subclass that has one of those features, you ignore that and you instead gain Blessed Strikes at 7th level and get to choose one of these options here. So at level 7, Blessed Strikes gives us one of the following options which we get to choose from. Um, Divine Strike says that once on each of our turns, whenever we hit a creature with an attack roll using a weapon, we can cause the target to take an extra 1d8 necrotic or radiant damage, which and potent spellcasting lets us add our wisdom modifier to the damage we deal with any cleric cantrip. These are both pretty decent buffs to those options. At level 10, we get Divine Intervention. This has seen quite an interesting change. As a magic action, we get to now choose any cleric spell of level 5 or lower that doesn't require a reaction to cast. And as part of the same magic action that we use this feature, we get to cast that spell without expending a spell slot or needing any material components for that spell. And we can only use this feature once per long rest. But it gives us a free casting of a level 5 or lower cleric spell that doesn't require a reaction to cast, which is pretty great. Some noticeable spells that you could use this on would be, I know people are talking about the Hollow spell because Hollow has a lot of interesting options that could completely decimate an enemy party. And normally Hollow requires 24 hours to cast, so that's a huge improvement. But there are also tons of other options that you could do for this feature. And this doesn't require, this is quite an improvement in my opinion, just because it doesn't require the DM to do um any additional work on their part, because some DMs may not be as gracious when you used the old divine intervention. Now it is set in the rules what you can do with this feature. And I think because of that, the options that you now have available to you are technically greatly improved. And there may be some crazy shenanigans that you can do with this, such as the Hallow option. At level 14, we gain Improved Blessed Strikes. This improves upon the option that we chose at level 7 for our Blessed Strikes feature. So for Divine Strike, the extra damage of our Divine Strike increases to 2d8. That used to be 1d8. And then Potent Spellcasting, whenever we cast a Cleric cantrip and deal damage to a creature with it, we can give Vitality to either ourself or another creature within 60 feet of ourself, granting that creature a number of temporary hit points equal to twice our Wisdom modifier, which is pretty decent. At level 19, of course, we gain the Epic Boon feat, or another feat of our choice for which we qualify, but we're most likely going to want to choose an Epic Boon feat just because they are significantly stronger than normal feats. The Epic the boon of fate increases one of our ability scores of our choice by 1 to a maximum of 30. And then we also gain Improve Fate, which says when you or another creature within 60 feet of you succeeds on or rolls a d20 test, you can roll 2d4 and add the total rolled as a bonus or penalty to the d20 roll. Once you use this benefit, you can't use it again until you roll initiative or finish a short or long rest. This is a neat way to add to a d20 test. It's pretty unique. The 2d4 can fluctuate on how much of a bonus that would apply. So I think this is rather neat, and it is pretty cool that you do regain it whenever you roll initiative as well as finishing a short or long rest, so you should be able to use it quite often. I think that is a decent option to choose. Finally, at level 20, we gain Divine Intervention, or Greater Divine Intervention. This says that whenever we now use our Divine Intervention feature, we can choose Wish whenever we select a spell. If we do so, we can't use Divine Intervention again until we finish 2d4 long rests. Do keep in mind that when we cast Wish, with this feature, we could still potentially gain, or we could still potentially cast Wish and then suddenly lose the ability to cast it. This is if we do any of the reshape, if we use it for the reshape reality option, which could potentially take away our ability to cast this ever again. So do keep that in mind. I would only use this for one of the options presented here, since this will not take away your ability to cast a spell. Also keep in mind that Wish does let you recreate or duplicate the abilities of any level 8 or lower spell. So I think that is the intended use of this. So it does increase your ability because of that feature there. So yeah, this is a pretty great capstone feature for the Cleric. There aren't too many new additions here to the Cleric spell list. I'm sure there are a couple additional options here, such as Aura of Vitality, Aura of Life, Aura of Purity. We gain Summon Celestial, Sunbeam, and Sunburst. And then Power Word Heal has been added as well, which are pretty great spells to add in here. More healing for our Cleric, which is pretty great. Also, I think we also get, I don't remember if Conjure Celestial was on our spell list, but it is now. And also, I do want to bring some notice to the fact that Flame Strike used to be a pretty bad spell. It is now a pretty decent spell. Its damage used to be 44 and 44 fire and radiant. It has now been increased to 5d6 fire and 5d6 radiant. And then the upcasting used to only increase one of those damage options by 1d6. Now, whenever we upcast it, we increase both the fire and radiant damage by 1d6. So this is a much improved spell. Now, let's get on to subclasses. We have 4 to talk about. The ones present here in this remaster are the Life Domain, the Light Domain, the Trickery Domain, and the War Domain. These are the 4 that they chose to remaster in some way, and these are some pretty good options. It does suck that we didn't get all the options that were present in the old Player's Handbook, but they did want to streamline it so that all classes had 4 subclass options. So that's just what we ended up with. Of course, you could still use older options with the new class if you so choose. Just keep in mind that your 8th level feature is no longer present. It is going to be replaced by the Blessed Strikes feature at 7th, and improved Blessed Strikes at 14th level. And then that should be the only thing to keep in mind. Let's see here. All right, Life Domain. We have this wonderful looking Life Domain Cleric who looks quite happy with their job. At level 3, we are going to gain the Disciple of Life feature. This says whenever a spell we cast with a spell slot restores hit points to a creature, that creature regains additional hit points on the turn you cast the spell. The additional hit points equal 2 plus the spell slot's level. This works the exact same way as the older version. The only real change is that it specifies that we need a spell slot when we cast the spell. Just a slight clarification there. At level 3, we gain life domain spells. These are spells that we always have prepared on our list. So the options we have here are Aid, Bless, Cure Wounds, and Lesser Restoration at 3rd level. At 5th level, we gain Mass Healing Word and Revivify. At 7th level, we gain Aura of Life and Death Ward. And at 9th level, we gain Greater Restoration and Mass Cure Wounds. There are some noticeable changes here. We now have Aid instead of Spiritual Weapon. We have a Mass Healing Word instead of Beacon of Hope. We have Aura of Life instead of Guardian of Faith. And we now have Greater Restoration instead of Raised Dead. Overall, I think this is an improvement to the spell list itself. This does give us more healing spells prepared, which is pretty great because that is what our whole shtick is. So I think overall this is a great improvement. And also Aid is a wonderful spell for clerics to have. Additionally, at 3rd level, we gain our level 3 feature, Preserve Life. This says that as a magic action, we can present our holy symbol and expend a use of our channel divinity to evoke healing energy that can restore a number of hit points equal to 5 times our cleric level. We choose bloodied creatures within 30 feet of ourselves, which can include ourselves, and we divide those hit points amongst them. This feature can restore a creature to no more than half its hit point maximum. Do keep in mind that bloodied is a new term that is presented here in the rules glossary. All it means is that a creature has half its hit points or fewer remaining. So this is just a new terminology for 5th edition. At level 6, we gain Blessed Healer. Blessed Healer says the healing spells that we cast on others heal us as well. Immediately after you cast a spell with a spell slot that restores hit points to one or more creatures other than ourselves, we can regain hit points equal to 2 plus the spell slot's level. So whenever we heal other creatures, we will also gain some healing, which is pretty great. Finally, at level 17, we gain Supreme Healing. This says when you would normally roll 1 or more dice to restore hit points to a creature with a spell or channel divinity, which was not included in the old version, so that's an improvement there. We don't roll those dice for the healing. Instead, we use the highest number possible for each die. For example, instead of restoring 2d6 hit points to a creature with a spell, we would instead restore 12. So yeah, Supreme Healing is a great capstone for our life domain cleric. So yeah, life domain is a amazing option if you want to get the most out of healing yourself and your allies during combat. It is the best option for that. Light Domain. So Light Domain has seen some changes here. Our light domain spells, which we always have prepared when we are of certain cleric levels, are the following. So we get Burning Hands, Fairy Fire, Scorching Ray, and Sea Invisibility at 3rd level. Sea Invisibility has replaced Flaming Sphere. At 5th level, we get Daylight and Fireball. These are the same there. At 7th level, we gain Arcane Eye and Wall of Fire. Arcane Eye has replaced Guardian of Faith. A pretty unique option, so this is a cool change here. And at 9th level, we get Flame Strike and Scrying. So these are all pretty great options here. And for some clarification, the reason that See Invisibility and Arcane Eye are now on the spell list is because the way that the Light Domain has been redesigned is that Light is now associated with not only dealing fire and radiant damage, but also revealing the truth and piercing the deception of creatures. So some pretty good, some pretty interesting roleplay opportunities here. And then, of course, here is the art for our Light Domain Cleric. Pretty great. At level 3, we gain Radiance of the Dawn. As a magic action, you present your holy symbol and expend a use of your channel divinity to emit a flash of light and a 30-foot emanation originating from yourself. Any magical darkness, such as that created by the darkness spell, in that area is dispelled. Additionally, each creature of your choice in that area must make a Constitution saving throw, taking radiant damage equal to 2d10 plus your cleric level on a failed save, or half as much damage on a successful one. Radiance of the Dawn is a great channel divinity option. It has always been pretty good. And I think it continues to be very good here. Yeah, it is an amazing channel divinity option. The damage is incredibly good at early levels and also great even at later levels. And then the fact that it just dispels magical darkness is also pretty great. All right. Also at level 3, we gain Warding Flare. Warding Flare says whenever a creature that you can see within 30 feet of yourself makes an attack roll, you can take a reaction to impose disadvantage on the attack roll, causing light to flare before it hits or misses. You can use this feature a number of times equal to your wisdom modifier, minimum of once, and you regain all expended uses when you take a long rest. Previously, when we got this feature, we could only use it on ourselves, and then this upgraded at 6th level with improved flare to allow us to use it on other creatures. So now we're getting all of that at 3rd level, which is a massive improvement. At 6th level, we now get improved warding flare. So improved warding flare says that we regain all expended uses of our warding flare when we finish a short or long rest. So now we can use this feature much more often than we used to, which is a great improvement. In addition, whenever we use Warding Flare, we can give the target of the triggering attack a number of temporary hit points equal to 2d6 plus our Wisdom modifier. This is also an amazing buff because even if we use Warding Flare and the attack still hits the target that we tried to protect, these temporary hit points should at least buffer some of that damage that they take. So this 6th level feature is a massive improvement for the subclass and should make sure that your Warding Flare is readily available and always relevant when you use it. Finally, at 17th level, we get Corona of Light. As a magic action, you cause yourself to emit an aura of sunlight that lasts for 1 minute or until you dismiss it. No action required. You emit bright light in a 60-foot radius and dim light for an additional 30 feet. Your enemies in the bright light have disadvantage on saving throws against the Radiance of the Dawn and any spell that deals fire or radiant damage. This is a pretty great buff for you, since that is most of the spells that you have deal radiant or fire damage, just because you have always prepared spells that deal. You can use this feature a number of times equal to your wisdom modifier, minimum of once, and you regain all expended uses when you finish a long rest. This has been added to the end of this. So now, not only do you get additional uses of this feature, um, well, actually, it gives us a limited number of uses of it, but we still have so many uses of it that this is always going to be relevant for us because we should have a pretty high wisdom modifier considering that it is the basis for most of the things that we do here. So this is not really much of a detriment, though it is a slight debuff. Though I really don't think it's that much of a debuff at all. Because ideally, by 17th level, we should have a 20 wisdom, so we're going to be doing this every combat. Alrighty. So, but all that is to say, I think that the light domain has seen major improvements here. I think it is a great um, buff to the old version, and I do like the changes that they have made to warding flare and improved warding flare. I think these just completely blow this domain out of the water and make it so much more relevant than it was. All right, so let's get to Trickery Domain. So Trickery Domain used to not be very good, and we have actually seen some quite a few changes to this domain since it came out, or at least or in this version, I mean. So here we got some new art for our Trickery Domain Cleric, which is pretty thematic here. We got a pretty whimsical looking cleric here with their illusory duplicate behind them. So let's talk about features. At level 3, we gain Blessing of the Trickster. This says that as a magic action, we can choose ourself or a willing creature within 30 feet of ourself to have advantage on dexterity stealth checks. And this blessing lasts until we finish a long rest or use this feature again. Noticeably, the old version of this feature did not let us use it on ourselves, and also it only lasted for an hour. So this is a major improvement to Blessing of the Trickster. For our Trickery Domain spells that we always have prepared, we have Charm Person and Disguise Self, Invisibility, and Pass Without Trace at 3rd level. At 5th level, we gain Hypnotic Pattern and Non-Detection. At 7th level, we gain Confusion and Dimension Door. And at 9th level, we gain Dominate Person and Modified Memory. There are some noticeable changes here to the spell list. Most noticeably, Invisibility has replaced Mirror Image, Hypnotic Pattern, and Non-Detection have replaced Blink and Dispel Magic, and then Confusion has replaced Polymorph. Confusion is a pretty powerful spell, so I feel like that's a good replacement for Polymorph. Hypnotic Pattern and Non-Detection are both more trickery themed than Blink and Dispel Magic were. And Invisibility, of course, is just a good spell to be visible, and I feel like that's the reason it replaced Mirror Image. Also, Mirror Image is very similar in some way to what Invoke Duplicity does. I feel like that's the reason they replaced that spell option as well. So let's talk about Invoke Duplicity. At 3rd level, we gain this feature, and as a bonus action, we can expend one use of our Channel Divinity to create a perfect visual illusion of ourselves in an occupied space, or an unoccupied space that you can see within 30 feet of yourself. The illusion is intangible and doesn't occupy its space. It lasts for 1 minute, but it ends early if we dismiss it, which is no action required, or we have the incapacitated condition. The illusion is animated and mimics our expressions and gestures. While it persists, we gain the following benefits. Cast spells. You can cast spells as though you were in the illusion space, but you must use your own senses. Distract. When both you and your illusion are within 5 feet of a creature that can see the illusion, you have advantage on attack rolls against that creature, given how distracting the illusion is to the target. Move. As a bonus action, you can move the illusion up to 30 feet to an unoccupied space that you can see that is within 120 feet of yourself. So overall here, we see some major improvements to Invoke Duplicity. It's just a lot more useful and a lot easier to use in its functionality than it was in the old version here. It's also just a lot clearer what we can do with it now, which is pretty great. At level 6, we gain Trickster's Transposition. This says whenever you take the bonus action to create or move the illusion of your Invoke Duplicity, you can teleport, swapping places with it. This is a great improvement to our Invoke Duplicity feat channel divinity, because now we can just teleport around the battlefield, swapping places with our illusion, which is awesome. Finally, at level 17, we gain Improved Duplicity. This buffs our Invoke Duplicity feature in the following ways. Shared Distraction. When you and your allies make attack rolls against a creature within 5 feet of the illusion, the attack rolls have advantage. We're now sharing this advantage with all of our allies. Healed Illusion. When the illusion ends, you or a creature of your choice within 5 feet of it regains a number of hit points equal to your cleric level. This is just a nice improvement because eventually our Invoke Duplicity is going to end. So whenever it does, we're just going to give hit points to one of our allies or ourselves, which is pretty great. So yeah, I think overall here, the Trickster Domain has seen major improvements, and it is much better than its older counterpart. All right, now here we are at the final option here. This is the War Domain. As we can see here, we have some amazing art by Polar Engine. This is a very interesting looking cleric provided here. So let's talk about the options that we get, because there are some changes here. At 3rd level, we gain Guided Strike. This says whenever you or a creature within 30 feet of you misses with an attack roll, you can expend 1 use of your channel divinity and give that roll a +10 bonus, potentially causing it to hit. When you use this feature to benefit another creature's roll, you must take a reaction to do so. So I want to break this down real quick because there are some changes here. So there is an improvement here because this version of Guided Strike now has both the benefits of the version that we used to get at 2nd level and at 6th level, because we can now target either ourselves or another creature. And when we target another creature that isn't us, that's the only version that takes a reaction to use. So do keep that in mind. We can use Guided Strike on ourselves without using a reaction. So there is a benefit to us using it for ourselves in that way. At level 3, we gain our War Domain spells, which we always have prepared. At 3rd level, these spells are Guiding Bolt, Magic Weapon, Shield of Faith, and Spiritual Weapon. At 5th level, we gain Crusader's Mantle, Spirit Guardians. At 7th level, we gain Fire Shield and Freedom of Movement. And then at 9th level, we gain Hold Monster and Steel Wind Strike. There are some noticeable changes here, but these are some great options available to us, especially Steel Wind Strike is a very strong option here. And then getting Guiding Bolt instead of Define Favor, I think is a really interesting change, because now this gives us a much needed ranged option for our War Domain, just in case we need it. So at level 3, we gain War Priest. This says that as a bonus action, we can make 1 attack with a weapon or an unarmed strike. We can use this bonus action number of times equal to our Wisdom modifier, minimum of once, and regain all expended uses when we finish a short or long rest. The old version, we only regained our uses during a long rest, and we previously couldn't make unarmed strikes with this feature. So this is a improvement and quite a welcome one as well. At level 6, we gain War God's Blessing. War God's Blessing says you can expend a use of your channel divinity to cast Shield of Faith or Spiritual Weapon rather than expending a spell slot. When we cast either spell in this way, the spell doesn't require concentration. Instead, the spell lasts for 1 minute, but it ends early if you cast that spell again, have the incapacitate condition, or die. The reason this is worded this specific way is because Spiritual Weapon has been changed. It is now a conjuration spell, or a concentration spell, but the damage does increase at every spell level rather than every other spell level. So it has seen a buff and a debuff in this way. And if you still want to use Spiritual Weapon in the way that it was in the older edition, just play the War Domain Cleric and you can do so. At level 17, we gain Avatar of Battle. This gives us resistance to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage. The old version used to specify there was only against non-magical attacks. That restriction has now been taken away, so this is a improved feature and quite an improvement on that part. So we are going to be the Masters of War as the War Domain. So War Domain is looking quite beefy now, and I think it has some great changes here. You're going to be quite potent as a War Domain Cleric. And I want to say, overall, I think the Cleric is looking amazing. The changes that have been made, I think, have been made for the better. They have improved upon features that had some iffy functionality, and just made everything a lot cleaner and work and function a lot better. So overall, I think the Cleric is in an amazing spot here, and it's one of my favorite changes for 2024. So that's all I really have to say here. So thank you all for watching. I greatly appreciate your engagement here. We are almost upon the release of the 2024 Dungeon Masters Guide, so I will be getting into that book as soon as it releases to give you guys content on that. Until then, I will catch you all later. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Have a great day. Bye.